Parshas Vayeishev, Tavshin Pei, and when it comes to Parshas Vayeishev, one of the more perplexing and amazing parshias in the Torah, and we've spoken over the years about the entire episode, the story that happens in this week's parsha of Yosef being sold, being thrown into a pit, the Shvatim, what they did to Yosef, what ended up happening to Yosef. But suffice it to say, it is very, very difficult to understand the entire episode. And of course, you cannot understand these things at face value. You have to read and learn the Mamorik Chazal. You have to learn the different Mefarshim about what really transpired over here. But at some point in the parsha, Yosef ends up in Mitzrayim. And when Yosef ends up in Mitzrayim, the challenges do not stop, although Yosef was not necessarily going through anymore being sold, but Yosef was in Mitzrayim and he was employed by different people. And we find in the parsha a very interesting thing. The Gemara Masechta Soita, Daf Lamed Vav Amud Beis, tells us on the pasuk of Vayavoy Habayso Lasois Malachtoi. The Torah tells us that Yosef went to the house to do his work. And the Mefarshim tell us that when Yosef was having his nisoyon in Mitzrayim, that Yosef had already, when it said that he came to the house to do his work, Yosef had already just about given in to his Yetzer Hara. And Yosef was about to do the Aveira. And that's what happened. The Gemara Masechta Soita tells us that Yosef was about to do the Aveira. And right then, as we know very famously, that nearest Lloyd Mustiyuknoi Shel Oviv V'nitzo, that Yosef saw the image of his father before his eyes, and he was saved, and he did not do the Aveira. He didn't give in to the Yetzer Hara. Yosef did not do anything. He saw the image of Yaakov Avinu in front of his eyes. And mamash at the last second, the Nesivos Shalom asks about this. The Nesivos Shalom asks that this seems to be in direct contradiction to many of the Maimorei Chazal that we know about this parsha. The Maimorei Chazal extol the great Madregas of Yosef in withstanding a nisoyon. We know that Chazal tell us that Yosef was the prototype that we look to when discussing withstanding a nisoyon. Yosef is the ultimate person that we look up to. How Yosef, if he was able to stand up to a nisoyon, Chazal tell us that the Yam Suf split because of the koyach of the Aroyne Shel Yosef. We know that they put the Aroyne Shel Yosef inside the Yam Suf, and because of the Aroyne Shel Yosef, and that was after Yosef had died already, because of the Aroyne Shel Yosef, the Yam Suf split. And it was not because of Moshe Rabbeinu who was there at the time. It was not because of Aaron HaKohen. And it was not because of any of the other 600,000 people at that time. The Yam Suf split because of Yosef. So the question is, if Yosef, as we're saying here, as the Gemara is telling us, if Yosef was that close, if he was so close to sinning, and only because and after he saw the image of Yaakov Avinu before him, that he did not sin, so what is the great schus of Yosef? That Yosef was greater than Moshe Rabbeinu. Yosef was greater than Aaron. Yosef came within an inch of actually doing an Aveira. So why do we talk so much about Yosef, that it was in the schus of Yosef that the Yam Suf split, and so many other things in the schus of Yosef, and that Yosef, the Medrash Tanchuma, in Bereshis Yud Beis tells us that not only that, it says that Yosef got schar. You know what Yosef got schar for? He got a reward for not even having a machshava to sin, or even having it in his heart a desire to sin, Yosef got schar for that. Now, once again, how does that jive with what we just said, that what saved Yosef was just his seeing his father, and he was about to do an Aveira? How do we say that Yosef never had a machshava to do an Aveira? Yosef never had in his heart the Yetzer Hara even? How do we put all these Mamorei Chazal together? The Sefer Priya Oretz, too, he asks over here, brought down in the Nesivos Shalom, how do we say that Yosef Mechayev Es HaRishoyim? It says that they're going to ask the Rishoyim, look at Yosef. Yosef had such a big Nisoyon, and he totally withstood the Nisoyon. So everybody else should also, who has a lesser Nisoyon, should be able to follow that. I mean, let's be realistic over here. We're asking a question that we're saying that Yosef Mechayev Es HaRishoyim, that Yosef is the one who's going to be Mechayev Hashem because he had such a great Nisoyon. Would anybody do an Aveira if they saw the image of Yaakov Avinu in front of their eyes? We're saying that Yosef Avinu was so great, but what happened, the Gemara tells us? The Gemara tells us that he was about to do an Aveira and he saw the image of Yaakov Avinu. So why is Yosef going to be Mechayev the Rishoyim? If anybody saw the image of Yaakov Avinu in front of their eyes, I venture to say that they're not going to do an Aveira, that they're going to stop whatever they're doing. So Nesivos Shalom explains, and he says over here, he says a very important thing, and with this we can understand the different Mamorei Chazal and how they seem to contradict each other, but they really don't. Now let's explain. Nesivos Shalom says that the Yetzer Hara has three different ways with a person. Three different ways of attacking. And the first way is the Yetzer Hara of a one-time sin. The Yetzer Hara wants to come to a person, it's not a long-term project, there's no business plan. He has a one-time plan, make this person do an Aveira. The whole goal is to do one thing. That's one Yetzer Hara. And then there's another level. There's a second level where the Yetzer Hara wants to completely take the person over. I need to get in this person's mind, and I need to take the person over. Not for anything specific necessarily, as it was in the first case, but I just want to take this person over, so I should have an influence over this person. But then says in the Nesivos Shalom, there's a third very important Yetzer Hara, and this is the most powerful one. There's a Yetzer Hara that doesn't come to even a specific person. It's a Yetzer Hara for Klal Yisrael. Where the Yetzer Hara comes to the important people, maybe the tzaddikim of Klal Yisrael. He comes to the important people and he wants to influence them that they should bring down the entire level of Klal Yisrael. Because if you get the top people in Klal Yisrael, if you get the people that have an influence and you get them under your jurisdiction, you're going to be able to bring down the entire level. So it's not a Yetzer Hara, as we said in the first case, where it specifically wants you to do an Aveira, or for a specific person. Here, the Yetzer Hara wants to have an influence on Klal Yisrael in general. It is meant to bring down the level of the entire Klal Yisrael. By the Nisayon of Yosef, says in the Nesivos Shalom, there were two different aspects. One was the Nisayon for Yosef himself. Yosef as a person, Yosef as the individual. That's right, we said that's one type of Yetzer Hara. The Yetzer Hara came to Yosef and said, I want you to do this Aveira now. I want you to be influenced by Eshes Potiphar. I want you to do this Aveira. That was one part of the Nisayon. The other part of the Nisayon was for the future of Klal Yisrael. The Yetzer Hara wanted to influence Yosef for a very specific reason, because he wanted that Yosef should lose himself. The future of Klal Yisrael was now at stake with this Nisayon also. And this would be beyond the strength of Yosef to handle on his own. For the Nisayon of influencing the entire Klal Yisrael, Yosef needed help. He needed the help of his father. So of course Yosef was the greatest tzaddik and Baal, the person who was Oymed Nisayon, the greatest ever in the world. But that was the Nisayon for himself. So the Maimorei Chazal that talk about how great Yosef was, and nobody withstood a Nisayon like Yosef,
That was the individual Nisayan. But right now there was something else at stake. Klal Yisrael was going to be in Mitzrayim for a couple of 100 years. And it wasn't just the land of Mitzrayim. The people of Mitzrayim were on a terribly low level. And can you imagine what had to be accomplished here? That not one person in Klal Yisrael should be over, and not one person in Klal Yisrael for the next couple of 100 years should fall into the ways of the Mitzrim. Not one. You know what kind of precedent, you know what kind of an influence Yosef has to set an example now? You know what Yosef has to do? That was a huge, huge project. That was a huge nisayon. So to break that Yetzer Hara, for that part, Yosef needed the help of Yaakov Avinu. So when the Gemara tells us that Rod was Diuknoi Shel Ovid, that he saw the image of Yaakov, that wasn't for himself. For himself, there was no one like Yosef. Those Maimorei Chazal are talking about Yosef HaTzadik as an individual, with the Yetzer Hara coming to Yosef. But to have the influence for the next 200 years, that doesn't minimize Yosef. Yosef needed the help of Yaakov Avinu. Yosef himself was a tzaddik Yisod Olam. But when Chazal speak of the Nisayon for Yosef, for Klal Yisrael, Yosef needed the Yaakov who fought the Malach of Esau. Yosef needed to see the Yaakov, Kisarisa, Im Elikim, V'im Anoshim V'tuchal. Yaakov Avinu had that special power, that special strength, where Yosef had to go to that strength now and see his father in front of him and understand that what I do is going to have influence on the next few 100 years. It's going to have influence on the rest of Klal Yisrael. So we see that the Maimorei Chazal over here they do not contradict. They're talking about so many different aspects of Yosef. And like we mentioned at the beginning of this year, like Nesivos Shalom says, that when you learn Parshas Vayeishev, and I think we mentioned this a couple of years ago, the Nesivos Shalom uses the pasuk of Toiras Hashem Temima Meshivas Nafesh. He says that every time you think that you've made a dent in understanding the Maisa of Yosef in Mitzrayim with the Shvatim and all of that, Toiras Hashem Temima. The Torah, this Torah in Parshas Vayeshev, it remains whole. We don't even begin to make a dent to understand it. So to this week, we just gave a little bit of an explanation into the end of Parsha. We've spoken over the years so much and at length about the beginning of the Parsha. This episode in the Parsha of Yosef already in Mitzrayim is also so tough to understand. We have to understand we're talking about Yosef HaTzadik, a man who was so great, one of the Shvatim from a person who we can't even begin to understand. But what we do need to understand is that the Yetzer Hara doesn't stop at anybody. The Yetzer Hara is coming to Yosef, and it'll come at him in two different ways. So the Yetzer Hara that came to Yosef was able to handle. That one, there was no one like Yosef. But when it comes to being the tzaddik, being the manhig, sometimes you need schus avos. You need your father in front of you. You need to see the people that came before you, the people that have been there, the people who have gone down that track, the people who have influenced you. And that is why Yosef saw the most Yuknoi Shel Ovid. He saw Yaakov Avinu, and that gave him the strength to overcome the nisayon of being a father, of being the person who has to be an example for Klal Yisrael for the next couple of 100 years. And we have to know that we're coming up now, Mit Hashem, to the Yom Tov of Chanukah. We talk so much about the influence of Chanukah and what Chanukah means to us and the example we have to set by Chanukah. Mit Hashem, in next week's shir, on Thursday night, Mit Hashem, we will discuss more about the Yom Tov of Chanukah and all the great things that have to do with the Holy Yom Tov.